really good to see you all.
You too.
I'm going to start with you.
Sure.
Did you know who Sharon Tate was before the script came your way?
I did actually. Yes, no, I did. But whenever I heard her name, I really only thought about her death. I didn't ever look into, or I was never really exposed to the parts of her life when she was alive. And that was kind of a beautiful part about taking on this role, was spending so much time with that aspect and really appreciating her life as opposed to just knowing about her death.
Right, because that's what kind of everybody knows about.
Yeah.
And I wondered if you thought, well, oh, Quentin Tarantino wants me to play Sharon Tate, and I'm not sure if I'm interested in the final scene.
Yeah, no, and at the same time, I think with probably any other filmmaker, I'd have that hesitation, but with Quentin, he doesn't really approach things in the way that we ever expect. I knew it wasn't going to be whatever it was. I knew it was going to be unexpected in some ways, and I think, yeah, people will be surprised. But it is so hard not to ruin the movie talking about it. But
we are
yes.
tiptoeing around something.
I knew
but
he was going to
we don't want to go
surprise
there.
You're keeping the tiptoe. It's still a tiptoe.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll let you know.
Yes. I was confident that he was never going to do it in the way I expected, so I was excited to read and see how he approached the character, and of course spent a lot of time discussing the character and her purpose to the story, and knowing that also he'd kind of gone through this already with Deborah Tate, who is Sharon's sister and also such an advocate for keeping the memory of Sharon alive in such a beautiful way.
Right.
Knowing that they had spent time together and, you know, she'd given her blessing.
Did you
definitely made me
wear
feel
some of
comfortable.
her jewelry?
I did, yeah, I did. Which was, again, an amazing opportunity that if it wasn't for Deborah wouldn't have been possible. It was kind of sometimes very sad to be that closely connected with real life Sharon. It kind of hit you at moments, and suddenly the tragedy of it all would kind of hit you, and you would be tremendously sad. And other times she just made me feel so happy because I know that she was happy and wonderful, and the way people speak about her, for the most part, she was an absolute joy. But yes, there were moments where it was very sad.
Can you give me the elevator pitch? Because this movie is about so many different things.
I don't know if I can do the elevator pitch.
About anything.
Yeah, about anything.
Good one.
But you know, one thing that's kind of interesting to me is I knew I wanted to make a movie at some point in my life about Hollywood, you know, a behind the scenes thing. Right? It's an interesting genre of movies, I think. And I'd worked on these characters, both the characters of Rick and Cliff and Sharon, for a long time, of kind of who they were. And them was creating them and figuring out their careers, and then Sharon was like learning and studying about who Sharon was and diving into her filmed work and interviews. And then after I kind of figured out who these guys were, I had to kind of decide, okay, now what story do I want to tell with them? And I realized that, and at different points, I'd had more melodramatic ideas. You know, a real more like an Elmer Leonard-y kind of story that would involve all these characters, which is probably pretty good, frankly. But after I figured out who these guys were, I don't think I need a story. I think they're interesting enough characters. Let me just do a day in the life. Just follow the three of them over the course of a couple of days. Now, I'm going to go to the day of the murder, and then that's our dramatic arc, and we're always heading towards there. And there's
everybody who's watching the movie knows this too.
And knows that that's where it's heading. And so I can try to shrewdly use history to help give me a dramatic ticking clock to some degree or another. That you never want to tick. You never want that clock to go off.
Right. You know what? The elevator door just opened. But keep going.
Well, no, actually, I was done. I'm done with my elevator pitch, because to me the idea was, once I got these characters, was to just hang out with them and live their life rather than put them through these melodramatic paces of a phony story.
Right. You play a cowboy actor from TV. Are you old enough to have watched reruns of that sort of stuff?
No, I had not been exposed, for example, to Dead or Alive or The Rifleman or a lot of these 50s, 60s TV shows that, Quentin had grown up with. So to me, it was almost an exposure to not only that type of television, but these type of B films that I had never grown up with, and an era in time that was a great transition, not only culturally but in cinema, where the guys with the pompadours were sort of fading out, and the hippie revolution was coming into play. But like Quentin was saying, his approach to this was so interesting because these two guys, these outsiders, sort of looking in at a changing world. They're these voyeurs. They're almost like a Nick Carraway or something like that. They're working class guys trying to survive in a changing industry. But so much of what Quentin does is always going to be so incredibly unique because he kind of works in a collage type of. It's like he has so many things that he refers to, whether it be in film or real life. Like, he recently just told a story that I don't think we ever heard of how he came up with the concept of a stunt double and an actor being the sort of centerpiece of a Hollywood fairy tale, and it was an interaction that he had on set. But that mixed with I'm not going to get into what happens at the end of this movie, but the fairy tale aspect of his imagination of what Hollywood was at that time, that is almost forensic but also created, and it's a very unique type of film, but it's an absolute love story to Los Angeles in this time period.
Forensic is good because, first of all, our friend here is a purist. Nothing is going to be done CG. We're going to do it for real, and they recreated Hollywood Boulevard as 1969. The detail was incredible. Not only is the radio, some obscure radio station advertised on the bus stop that we probably won't see as we're flying by. In the store behind it is a little pamphlet of a comic book or advertising something of that era, and that is the depths of his detail. And when we started it, he came to us and basically with that kind of a manual.
Because Hollywood is a big character in the movie.
And Hollywood is a big character.
To the authenticity of the disc jockey on the radio station and the music, and my gosh, there were streets were filled with cars. I didn't know there were that many cars of that vintage still around, for God's sake.
Well, I mean, one of the really thrilling parts of the movie, it's one of the thrilling parts of filmmaking is if you're doing a movie that takes place in another time, is meticulously recreating that time. And since I grew up in Los Angeles and I lived in Los Angeles County at that time, to really recreate the city that I live in to this day, but to the way it was when I was 6 or 7, is kind of amazing. It was very exciting, and to really do it with plaster and brick, and not just we'll do that later. Yeah. But also, to me, I remember those radio stations, and to me, those radio stations and those radio commercials and those DJs, they're almost like a period narrator taking you
Greek
through the
chorus,
movie. Yeah.
Almost. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Did you have these guys in mind when you wrote it?
Well, yes, but
and a few others.
You can't. Well, here's the thing, though. It's like you can't.
Fair.
The answer is yes, I did, but I couldn't be arrogant enough to think I'm going to get them. All right.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of things would have to work out for that to happen.
Who said yes first?
What?
Who said yes first?
Filled the Rick character first.
Yeah. Well, Leo said yes first.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Cliff depended on.
Yeah. Well, that was
Rick.
the thing, though. Yeah. The thing is, if you're doing a stunt double on his actor team, the actors have to match up.
Yeah.
So So I had to. Yeah.
You guys had never been in a movie before.
No, but we did start on the same television show.
Growing Pains.
89, 90.
Me, 91, 92.
Oh, were you? Maybe I was 90 then.
I don't remember. I mean, we're talking decades ago, but we were on the same television show.
Did you ever do a scene together?
No.
No.
No, these guys are actually frustratingly blasé about stuff like this. Brad was like on 21 Jump Street once. Like, wait, did you do a scene with Depp? And he goes, I don't remember. You don't remember? How do you do a 21 Jump Street and possibly do a scene with Johnny Depp, but you don't remember if you did?
I remember Peter DeLuise.
I'll tell you, there's going to
No,
be a lot of
because I remember
YouTube
seeing-
searches now.
I don't think so. I don't.
So here's my question for you guys. Was there any trepidation whatsoever when, him, you, these, you guys are really famous and well regarded, but had never worked together before. Was there any trepidation?
Hell no, man. You know that you don't have to carry, the whole thing. You got these other great people who are the best of the best and are going to, help carry that load. It's actually a relief. And so much was automatic for us. Just having experienced many of the same things, this story itself that Quentin has created, it just was an immediate comfort. And
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, I'm not speaking for you, but I don't think either of us thought about it in that context. It's what's best for the film. I've admired the choices that he's taken through his career, and if you start to think in that realm of big actor, what's the dynamic? You're trying to create a piece of art here, and that I think this Quentin saw in this matchup, this sort of two sides of the same coin, and Rick, this struggling actor, and Cliff, his stunt double, but they're also family. It creates an authentic piece of art, and so I don't know. I never had a
yeah. I
moment
think also
of,
you're talking about something from an outside perception, and I mean, just a couple of idiots on the couch here. I had to change my shirt because I got toothpaste on the way here. Do you know what I mean? It's like we're dealing. We see it from the inside out.
See,
Gotcha.
look, I'm excited about the movie coming out, but I'm really looking forward to the head shop posters of these guys together. They're going to be selling head shops for the next 5 years. Those cheapy black and white ones that you put in your dorm room wall.
I have a somewhat serious question. I did an interview with Matt Damon years ago, and there was a moment after he was hot, when his phone literally stopped ringing. It was before Born. And he had this notion like, well, maybe the train has stopped. Have either of you ever had that sense where either the train has stopped or maybe I want to get off?
I've always looked at it like, even with the greatest of careers that I've admired, there's ebbs and flows. It's a roller coaster ride. And much like we're talking about in this movie, Rick is a sort of remnant of the past. Will he make the adjustment to the future? Will he be able to adapt is sort of a pivotal question in my character. And I've always, you look at the trajectory and the careers of some of the greatest actors that I've admired, and they ebb and flow. There's good times and there's bad times. And hopefully you could just be in the race as a long-distance runner is the only hope, and not,
Yeah, precisely that. And I think we're all aware there's a shelf life on this, but, and certainly feel what Leo's describing, the ebbs and flows. Some are going to work, some aren't. You still put everything into each one of them. And I think the older I get, it's more important. You commit a lot to a film. You're committing months and months of your time. It's long days, and it's really important to me the people I spend my time with and the artists that I respect. And so I don't know what went wrong on this one, but
Would you do it again?
so cheap.
Would you want to work together again?
We're gonna. Yeah, we talked about doing Jerry Lee Lewis, Dean Martin stories. We were gonna.
He wants to do a Christmas album.
And I want to do a Christmas album together. I have high hopes for it.
Are you all really only going to make one more movie?
That's the plan for right now, yeah.
Really? Mm-hmm. I'm going to leave it at that. When I come back in my next, what are you going to say?
Well, I just think it's amazing. I mean, he said that from the beginning, and he puts everything into that movie. It is so well thought out. And when he says a 10th film, I mean, I can't wait to see what that would be. But what he's speaking about is that we're part of, there's a relevance in what we can bring to something. And Quentin, who studied directors, writers, actors more than anyone I know, understands that there is I guess it's back to a shelf life, but that things need to transition too. So when he says that, he's dead serious, and it's pretty staggering claim. But at the same time, he's got plays in him, he's got novels in him,
Well, I mean,
he's got teleplays in him,
Well, thank you so much for that. I mean, but the thing is also, I'm getting to be in a couple of years from a 30-year career. There's not that many directors who have a 30-year career and are still working at the height of opportunity, let's say, that I have. So that's a pretty good time to wrap it up, all right? 30 years, that's giving a lot to it.
Another serious question. In my next life, who should I come back as? You? Or you?
I think you're doing pretty well on your own. Yeah, I don't know about him. I shine up well on the outside, but it's a bit dicey, my friend.
I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a moment in the film, because you really play, it feels like you play three guys. There's your character, and then the character who plays the cowboy guy. And then there's a moment when he's in a scene where it feels like he reaches something he never reached before, where everyone's jaws drop to the floor and just say, "What was that?" What was it like for you to play that?
Well, I think it was in the discovery with Quentin of who this man was, because I've never really, I've done, as we've said before, a couple days in the life of in Titanic, which I tried to refer to before, which now I remember was a couple days, but this idea of a couple days in the life and trying to also create a character, but a character that's also on set doing something professionally, where most of my scenes are pretending to be another character and struggling with trying to act. It was a thing was very complex to wrap my head around, and a lot of our conversations initially was like, okay, but what's underneath all of that? And I think that got us to this whole idea of extreme self-doubt and the possibility that my character, might want to disappear from the face of the earth at any moment. And so it developed this sort of whole side street for us to explore improvisationally with the character that wasn't within the original screenplay, and I think was some of the most fun moments for both of us to explore when we did the movie.
The scene where he's in his trailer, the jump cutty scene and everything, that was all improvised and wasn't written in the script. It was like we came up with it. Actually, in the script, him screwing up his lines wasn't in the script. That was Leo's idea. And so then he goes, I think I need to have a problem here. I don't think this should be triumphant. I think there should be a problem. Then I come back from that problem. And I go, okay, that's a neat idea. And so I wrote it that way. And then, okay, but now we need to have a Travis Bickle moment in your trailer as you do a meltdown.
And I will go on record as it is one of the best meltdowns laid on film.
It was fun to watch.
Down on film.
You guys have worked with this guy before. Was there ever a moment in the films that you've worked on or on this one where you've said to Quentin, "You want me to do what?"
No. You know what you're getting into.
Yeah, the hullabaloo scene. You want me to sing what?
That is true. That is true. No, you go on the ride. You go on the ride. What?
No, I'm not even going to go there. In the last fight.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even I knowing what I'm getting into went, Quentin, are we over the line? Not the line, your line.
Because there is a moment in so many of your movies where there is this sort of unbelievable violence going on, and the audience is screaming in laughter. Or at least that's how I respond to it. Because it's just wildly exhilarating.
Well, I do like, I just come from a place of, this isn't real, guys. This is a movie. We can do anything in here, and as long as it's all just make-believe, then we can take it for what it is, as make-believe, and it is just fantasy. And you get to have these verboten moments that you can watch and be appalled, and then as effed up as it is, I actually tried to make it kind of funny. And you should be surprised at your own reaction and even questioning your own reaction.
Embarrassed by.
But as far as I'm concerned, that's a great time at the movies. To have those kind of conflicted emotions as opposed to just having images glazed over you. that's a great time at the movies.
I remember finishing the script of Bastards and putting it down and going, "Can you do that? Can you kill Hitler? Can you? Is that? I guess so."
Well, it's a very cool film on a bunch of different levels. I kept thinking Willy Loman almost as I was watching your character. No, seriously, just attention must be paid. And
Across these desks, promises were made. Whenever I do Willy Loman, it's always the Justin Hoffman version.
Right. Right. It was weirdly enough. I mean, this character was something I was very familiar with. Hasn't been the course of my life, but all these things that are within Rick, I think, are universal and very human. And
Well,
that's
Leon,
why
you mentioned about how, like, when you started your career, there was like you and about 4 other guys always going out for the same roles, and you always saw them and if you didn't get it, he got it, and you're always like bunching up at the same outer offices, waiting for the auditions and everything, and you guys kind of know what's going on with each other, and now you look back on it 30 years later.
Yeah. And then and I think that's what is. There's this whole sort of subtext with the man that could have been McQueen. They both had TV shows in the 50s. He made the television to movie transition, but did Rick miss that boat, and did he miss it forever? And does that torture him, or is he going to be more like Cliff and realize life is pretty good? I may not have it all, but every day, like out of prison, it's a good day for Cliff.
Well, what are the almost comical tragedies in the film? There's real tragedies in the film, but one of the comical tragedies is like one of the zeitgeisty movies that actually Rick would have been really good in is the John Cassavetes role in Rosemary's Baby. That actually would have been a good role for him, and it's about a struggling actor who wants success. And so if he had just moved to the neighborhood 1 year earlier.
I never thought about that.
you guys are great to take so much time to hang out and talk about this. Yeah, it's really,
Oh, it's my pleasure, man.
yeah, really, really cool to see you all.